Fresh meat.
To be completely honest, I'm not the biggest proponent of the fantasy genre. Yet, when you mix it with horror, well, now you're speaking my language. Like vodka and Red Bull, separate, but together. Woo! The 90s had a small cult series that some may even remember, and for this video, I hope you do. One that dealt with magic, witchcraft, and the consequences that accompany it. A series that made Julian Sands the quintessential 90s pompous English bad guy. You had the great and very young Richard E. Grant stealing scenes with his faux Scottish accent.
Yesterday you cared not to know such things.
Yesterday was 20 years ago.
Yet it was Mr. Sands who really stood tall as the inquisitive and dangerous witch. It's a childhood favorite, and though dated, especially in the digital effects department, but hey, what isn't? It is still a hell of a great watch today. Now with, 2 movies. Yes, 2 movies in the series. My favorite lies in its sort of wacky and darker action-packed sequel. So for this episode of The Black Sheep, let's go back to the early 90s and defend one of the best cult sequels with Warlock, the Armageddon, which I will be referring to as Warlock 2 because I'm not going to say that entire name every time. Now, if you haven't seen part 2, let me sell you the pitch. A high-class Englishman plays a 17th century warlock whom, as Satan's son, wants to bring his father to Earth. To do so, he must collect a bunch of magical stones spread across the good old US of A. Now, the only problem is a secret sect of druid warriors, led by the f***ing captain himself.
I don't give a fuck, Riggs.
Captain.
Time was when this sort of thing would send me right over the fucking falls. I swear to God, I'm getting old.
And 2 dorky teens must learn to master their, Jedi powers in order to defeat the Warlock and save existence. Bearing no relation to the first except that Mr. Sands is playing a Warlock, working in conjunction with the devil. It could be the same one, technically just reborn, but Sands plays this one with a bit more grit, so I don't know.
Can I help you? Sir?
Shut up.
It's the early 90s, and a woman wearing one of the stones becomes instantly pregnant when the rare lunar eclipse connects with it, or something like that. The Warlock ain't wearing the same olden garb either. I gotta give it to Julian Sands. The man goes method. Now, so he takes the clothes right off of Billy Peltzer's back, Terminator 2 style.
Black.
Of course, it's directed by the great Anthony Hickox, who also did the underrated duo of Waxwork 1 and 2. From here, the story splits in 2. We have our villain on a road trip from New York to California, collecting all the stones in order to bring his father, the Prince of Darkness, back home. While 2 teens, Kenny and Samantha, played by Chris Young and Paula Marshall, must accept their birthright of being druid warriors to take the final stand and stop the Warlock before it's too late. I actually really dig the druid teen plot point, though no one here is matching the screen presence of Richard E. Grant, of course, and honestly that would be my biggest complaint. The Luke Skywalker-esque arc is a fun addition, and it differentiates this sequel from the first. And it's not that Kenny and Sam just need to learn their powers as Skywalker did. No, they each need to f***ing die to even start. And a scene that so holds up for being weird and creepy is when Will Travis, aka the Captain, and his buddy Franks, played by the badass that is R.G. Armstrong, go looking for Kenny to, fix him up for his battle with the witch, leading to the stylized and epic shot.
I love you, Kenny.
Wide-eyed and full of life, Warlock 2 can be cheesy, but the dated charm and optimism of innocence makes this both a relic and somehow timeless.
It's a world of magic, son, where nothing is what it seems to be.
Having our pretty boy Warlock just go on an episodic adventure, tricking folks into giving him the stones, with a guaranteed gruesome end. Yeah, it feels very specific for its time, yet packs a big enough punch where it's damn near punk rock compared to the studio fare we get today. When the Warlock's map, which is the skin burned off his mortal mother, becomes dry in what is a great nod to Sam Raimi and Cronenberg, he must moisturize it with blood, leading to a funny and gory scene that could not exist today.
How does it look?
On the other end, the hero's journey is where that 90s optimism comes into play. I love how much more fantasy-driven this entry is, without sacrificing the horror element. Warlock 2 fits the whimsical horror mold far greater than its predecessor. While the first dealt more with the magic aspect of the Warlock, something this entry is sorely missing, Part 2 does have more of that magical aura to it. The healing potion comes with magical sparkles.
We may not be able to fight, but we can still heal.
While Kenny's dad, Will, uses his force-like powers to fend off some school bullies. It is something that is both melodramatic and fantastic at the same time. We get something cheesy like this.
I didn't ask you to shoot me.
Like the phoenix rising from the ashes, the warrior rises from his own death. That's the way it's written.
And something badass like this.
Happy trails, partners.
This conflict between the druid warriors and the warlock boasts not only some impressive practical effects, but makes for a logistically interesting fight. He blows up the underground bunker with him inside just to try and kill Kenny. A quick battle in the town square at high noon then turns into a bloody beatdown in the forest. Now, yeah, the computer effects don't hold up, and since I was a kid when I first saw this, I can't argue that they looked great then. But it was the Wild West for low-budget visual effects in the early 90s. But Anthony Hickox, working within his limitations with a new technology, good, try something new to enhance the tale that's being told. Okay, the ADR may be the one thing I can't forgive.
So much for my 70th birthday. So much for my 70th birthday.
And poor Kenny's dialogue was just completely changed. Whatever he's saying, it wasn't this.
I'll go get the hose.
The character of the Warlock was one of cunning sophistication, mixed with a vicious streak that made him an underrated villain that could have stood next to some of the greats. The Warlock movies had their own logic and style, and Part 2 expands the world. Yeah, I'm reaching a bit, but just go with me. Mixing in more Western and fantasy, the sequel gave it more of a unique identity. And if they ever made a third, I would have hoped they would have added in a new genre to play around in. And of course, Julian Sands is everything here. And the funhouse scene plays out like a bad trip. Warlock 2, or Warlock the Armageddon, whatever you want to call it, took the story in a new and exciting direction. Inventive deaths, a script that didn't reserve itself to ride the coattails of its predecessor, and a standout performance by Julian Sands makes this sequel ripe for the status of a true cult classic. I sat through the commentary by Anthony Hickox recently, and he seems to regret this decision or that decision, wished he did this different or that another way. But listen, I get it. But Hickox rocked this out and gave us a wild adventure full of blood, trippy visuals, and some of that English sass.
Sorry, it's not for sale. I never said anything about buying it.
Once you make something and it finds an audience, it's no longer yours. The collective we get to enjoy it, love it, and find a connection with it. Once your art finds an audience, then it's your job to support it and embrace what people love about it. Regardless if you think you could have done a better job now, no one gives a shit. In that moment in time when they watched it, it caused a sense of joy and attachment. It's the magic of movies. Perfection bores me. I'm here for heart. If I made a movie right now, I couldn't do anything close to the quality of Warlock 2. Anthony Hickox, dude, you did a great job. You gave us a sequel centered around a murderous road trip with a male witch and a 90s haircut, two teens with Jedi powers, the one and only captain, and a cruel villain with a level of presence and class that could only come from the excellent Julian Sands.
Is this the best you can do?
I think it is. I think it is. Hey, thanks for watching our show. Please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content. And turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. Listen, we're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.